Hi everyone, and welcome to the Frontiers of E-commerce series of webinars. Our topic today will be 2021 Digital Retail Trends, and we have a fantastic lineup of speakers for you. These are e-commerce experts. These are my clients that I learn from every day, and I look forward to learning more from them today together with you. DEPLABS Digital Commerce Agency is running the webinar today, and it is sponsored by our trusted partners, BigCommerce. My name is Sergey Ostapenko, and I will be your panelist today, and I will moderate this discussion. We have over 150 attendees registered for this event, and I see that most of you are already here, and you are digital natives and e-commerce professionals from all over US and Canada, as well as some other countries, and welcome, everyone. So now that you know who and what, let us talk about why. Let's talk about why. Why do we run this event, and what are these series all about? So together we are an e-commerce community, and my idea is to encourage each other to share valuable knowledge and insights to help each one of us to be successful. And so if you share in that vision, join us not just on this, but on the series of webinars we're going to have. At DEPLABS, we help clients to be heroes and fairies of their domains. And so we build great e-commerce websites, we build custom apps, but more than anything, we help our clients to achieve their dreams. We do have a sponsor here today, and this is BigCommerce. We work alongside BigCommerce every day, and I'm happy to announce that as of last week, DEPLABS has gained the elite partner agency status with BigCommerce. And we're just one of the few agencies there, that achieve that status worldwide. So thank you for helping us build our business up, BigCommerce, and they have been instrumental in sending out the invites for this event, and they're a great partner. Thank you. So I want to turn to our panelists today. All three of them are here with us, and I want to put the spotlight on them. It's not about me or you, it's about them today. They're joining us from Vancouver, Ottawa, and Dallas, and I'm very honored to introduce them three. So Teresa Rosell at O2E Brands, she's a business solutions and delivery director at O2E Brands, and she has great experience building online channels for Gap, Lululemon, Target, KitchenAid, and many other brands. Chelsea Muller is the Chief Marketing Officer, CMO at Cheaper Than Dirt, and she has 15 years of experience in digital space, and she has such a vast experience in building up brands and building digital experiences in commerce that I'm amazed every day working with her, learning from her. Christine English, she is an AVP of e-commerce, managing one of Canada's largest omni-channel retailers with vast experience in operations and digital commerce. So I want to jump right in, ladies, and I want to, first of all, understand a little bit more of a context around your businesses. Your businesses are so unlike each other, and so let us give the audience a flavor of what your business is all about. So I want to start with you, Teresa, now. You have a unique business model at O2E in that you have a number of brands under one umbrella. You do services to franchisees. You do both B2C and B2B. And so how does your online business work?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Sergey, and so happy to be here with Christine and Chelsea to talk to you today. I've spent most of my career in retail, and so coming over to O2E Brands, where our product is our service, so it's one and the same, was a new space for me. And in some ways, it was more simplified because we don't have the complexity of supply chain and inventory management. So at O2E Brands, it's really heavy on content and marketing. It's about driving traffic, converting estimates, and booking jobs. SEO performance is critical. As you mentioned, we have both residential and commercial business lines. So for us, residential is really heavily milestone-based in customer acquisition, whereas commercial is more about national account management and repeat business. In our model, it's like we don't have a traditional checkout cart, so booking estimates first, and then the actual financial transaction happens after the service has been completed. And that just really deepens the dependency that we have around the quality and service delivery. And for us, a big motivation for us to hit on our conversion is built around our availability. So can we get there same day or within a 48-hour window, for example, to meet the customer? And if we can, we tend to convert. And if not, we're competing against someone that will.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Christine, turning to you. So Giant Tiger is very well known in Canada. It's a massively large physical and online operation that you manage. And so can you tell us more about your CPG business and how you leverage this omni-channel and how big you guys really are?
Yeah, thanks, Sergey. Thanks for having me here, and happy to be here with Chelsea and Teresa. So Giant Tiger started 1961. I was not there when it started, just for the record. I've been with GT for 26 years now. And started here about 5 years ago in e-commerce. Now, when we started, we've done a bit of a journey to get here. We have, to give you the outline of what we operate in, we're kind of like a mini Walmart, is the best way to put it. We're under 20,000 square feet, over 250 stores. I think we said 250 stores here, but it grows faster than I can update it. I think we're at 260 something right now. But you kind of get immune to the number of stores at a certain point when you end up in the e-com side, right? We sell, so fashion is a big one for us, and home decor is another one, and we do sell perishables as well as meat, dairy, all of that line. We have, from an e-com perspective, we have a warehouse. And we have 30 stores that are shipping product out to customers' homes and transferring into other stores. And every store is now a fulfilling location, and we have pickup in all of our locations and returns in all of our locations. We are east to west. We are not in BC and not in Newfoundland or up in the territories. E-com has been a bit of a journey and a brick and mortar retailer, right, with family, family owned and operated, yeah.
Well, let's deep dive into that in a moment, but let's look at the third business represented here. And Chelsea, my hands are reaching now. At Cheaper Than Dirt, you're running the online operations for a niche and specialized business. You're selling guns and ammo and outdoor equipment online. And this is such a politically charged segment and a vertical. So what are some of the challenges? I imagine you have compliance restrictions. You have all sorts of things that come with it, such as limitations. And how are you able to grow in this environment?
A lot of hard work. So I mean, obviously, like I'm here of our straight retail component, right? So Cheaper Than Dirt has been in business for almost 27 years. So we've got those regulations and restrictions down to a science. We were originally a catalog retailer, so all direct mail. And in 95, we opened an e-com store. So early adopter. And then I joined Cheaper Than Dirt about 5 years ago. And we transitioned to being a pure play e-commerce retailer. So when you switch to selling entirely online in a highly regulated space, you have to have the technology to actually manage those restrictions. I'm sure there are people in the audience, and possibly Christina and Teresa, being like, how do you do that? How do you sell those things online? The restrictions vary by state, sometimes even by zip code in the United States. So every product has a very specific, what method can it go in the mail? How can it even ship to you? And we handle all of those at a zip code level. We have a really, really great team in place internally who manages the actual information. we obviously don't, for clarity, we don't ship restricted items directly to consumers. So if for some reason you were going to come and buy a firearm from us, it would go to a federally licensed dealer, and you would go pick it up there and complete the transaction in person.
So you mentioned something very interesting about your team being up to speed on everything, and we'll get back to that in a moment. But I want to ask you, all three of you, one by one. 2020 is over, and so we've definitely all had some challenges in our businesses in that year. How did it shift your approach internally to how you were starting to plan 2021? Now, what happened in 2020 when you first faced the pandemic, and what were some of the things that you immediately started doing to shift your business to survive? Okay, so who wants to go first? Maybe Teresa, you go first.
Sure. Thanks. I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, for us, our number one priority was really making sure that our employees and our customers were going to be safe. And so for us, that was getting our arms around meeting government compliance, which after hearing Chelsea, I'm thinking for you was probably a bit of a walk in the park compared to us who were not heavily regulated. So it felt like a big pivot for us. And we operate in North America and in Australia, and so we're thinking about different states and provinces and countries. Two of our brands had to pivot to contactless service. So first we had to figure out how to do that operationally. And then from there, we wanted to make sure we were talking about it with through our marketing campaigns to our customers to make sure that they knew and that we could build some trust and confidence with them just around how we would provide service. We did initially have a stall in our sales, like I'm sure many people on this call, when the pandemic first hit. And during that time, we were racing to make those pivots operationally and to our marketing voice. Then we saw a spike, and all of a sudden people were sitting at home and they were bored and they wanted to do at-home projects, or they wanted to move and get more space because they're spending more time at home. And for a home services company, that meant that we got really busy really quickly. And so that really put pressure on our online booking engine. It put us in a position where our call center needed to not only be able to take increased call volumes, but our entire sales agents were working remotely. We had two call centers, one in Toronto, one in Vancouver. They had to all be able to be set up remotely at home. So creating that work from home environment for everybody in business, and just making sure that we could respond to our customers when they were calling, and also uphold the promise, our service promise in this new format was really how things were shaped for us in 2020.
Is that, Christine, Chelsea, is that something that also happened in your businesses?
I can say we can definitely relate. We sell, preparedness items. So a lot of people came to us right away, looking for, shelf stable foods, home emergency supplies, in addition to ammunition and firearms, our core business. And so we had to scale really fast. We saw really, really rapid growth that operationally meant trying to adjust our warehouse. We ship directly out of Texas, and our call centers all in-house as well. So trying to adjust to meet the expectation of our current customers of what service should look like. We've long prided ourselves on being same day ship, and all of a sudden it was like, how are we going to keep up with that? And it involved us actually scaling up warehouse operations to run 24 hours. Like we went from one shift to three. From a staffing perspective, having to hire really quickly in the middle of the pandemic was weird for an on-site, in-person job, and being very concerned, just like Teresa, about our employees' safety and health and safety guidelines as we did that. Scaling up call center operations and adjusting our marketing to help really inform customers about what we were doing to make sure we were getting back to shipping same day, having inventory, because from us, supply chain became a a factor there. What can we get in? And we're still just churning. And, as soon as something comes in, it's going right back out the door. Fortunately, that hard work on the front end has paid off, and we are back to same day ship.
Yeah, I find it interesting that sometimes people think of e-commerce and digital commerce as the e-commerce platform. End of story. It's really just one of the plug and play pieces there, and your whole system has to operate like impeccably for all things to come together at the exact right time. Right? So, Christine, what happened at Giant Tiger then?
Well, it's a bit of a blur, but and I'm sure everyone feels a little bit like that. We were in the middle of still onboarding stores to be fulfilling locations for online, and we're still transitioning our grocery. We sell non-perishable grocery, basically shelf stable online, but that was actually not good in a way because cleaning was on there and things like Clorox wipes, and we basically had to turn them off because our system would show that we had it, but we didn't because we had daily feeds at that point. Just little things would be so frustrating. So we ended up onboarding what it forced us to do was onboard our stores more quickly. The rest of our locations that needed to be onboarded. Curbside, we had no curbside prior to that, so we had to launch curbside. And while we were doing that particular piece, we had already planned to do a platform launch of web store and OMS and transition that, which had multiple layers. It's basically the largest e-com project we've done to date with a lot of moving pieces and parts. And basically made a commitment internally to keep that as close to on time as possible, which was not without pain and tears by many people while trying to keep the lights on everywhere else, right? Where operationally, we're a small team and definitely interesting. The positive of it was that it really brought forward where we needed to go in the future. And we run a franchise operation and a unique franchise operation, but getting buy-in from stores is a big part of moving forward. And definitely this has driven that to be there's no store out there today that will argue that e-commerce is a thing. And believe it or not, there are always some that are not as on board as others. Some of these newfangled things, as some of them call it, but we're there now, and that's been very positive and quite incredible to see what teams can do when they need to, right?
Well, we definitely shared some of those sleepless nights with you that past summer. We all went from, oh my God, what's going on, into, okay, we got this. So what's coming next, And preparing for this webinar, I dug up a quote by Scott Galloway that I'm going to flash on the screen, guys. And now that 2020 is past us, he says, the great dispersion, he calls it. 2021 will be about macro trend that's driving the most change in the lives in the market, that great dispersion. So it's a distribution of products and services over a wider area where and when they're needed most, bypassing gatekeepers and removing unnecessary friction and cost. Last year, companies bypassed traditional channels of distribution like stores, movies, gyms in favor of faster contactless deliveries and digital unlocks. We save time and reduce the exposure to the virus, yet dispersion also risks isolating us and in turn suppressing our empathy, which could have profound negative consequences. Similar to the virus, dispersion is indifferent to our wants. That said, we can plan for it, and the planning is everything. So let's shift into the planning mode. So 2021, what are some of the things that shifted last year that are going to be here going forward, and what were some of the temporary challenges that we've overcome? So who wants to go?
I think I do want to say, I think it's interesting, and I always enjoy Scott Galloway. He's talking about suppressing our empathy, and the idea, that we've all adjusted to this. We're going to just get things ourselves and not do things in person. Prior to the call, Teresa and I were both talking about how we just got Pelotons. So we're doing things at our, working out at our house. I used to do the spin gym in person. But I think just like she and I going to Peloton, that's because it feels like you're with people. And I think our marketing has had to get even more focused on that personality and that customer connection, so that it isn't something where they don't have empathy, they don't feel like they know our brand, they don't feel like we are part of their community. You still have to extend that community component, which is where we're really focused in 2021 from a technology project standpoint. Continuing to grow loyalty programs and community-based programs that don't require things in person, but make people feel like they are part of our Cheaper Than Dirt community, a part of the sport that's associated with our brand, and making sure that they feel like we know them still, even though there's less interaction perhaps in person for everyone.
Yeah, and just to build off of that a little bit, it's like, before the pandemic hit, our customers didn't always want to call and speak with us. And, since the pandemic, it's just applied additional, pressure for us to have that increased flexibility in how they interact with us. And our call to action around that is like, how are we going to create self-serve appointments and really create a space where they can show up in the way that they want to, and we're going to be there for them.
That's an interesting perspective, and it's interesting how we are looking for that human connection, that touch, even if virtual, to reach out to the others in this space and to build a better sense of community. So we'll talk more about that on that beautiful Brands for Better Foundation initiative you have, Teresa. Christine, what do you think? What's some of the things that are going to be here for us, no matter what happens after this pandemic?
I mean, we come from a bit of a different angle because we were essential, considered essential in Canada, and for the most part remained open. So we had the unique ability to connect with the customer there. And our owner is in the store, so a huge amount of empathy community that goes along with that. Very hard to transition that to online without human contact and someone being there by phone. I think for 2021, if I go aside from the empathy and from the community involvement and connecting with the customer there, we saw a huge need going forward to really rethink all of the touch points for the customer, and operationally, how do we take all of the fluff out of it where there is inefficiency, because we just can't continue if with the way things are going to move. I feel that we are still going to be pushing forward with greater levels of e-commerce faster than we thought. However, I still am not convinced that the customer really wants that in everything. I think there are things that we still want to go in and try them on and touch the clothing and experience the item in person. And technology isn't there yet to give us that info, give us the touch and feel. Now, when that will happen, I don't know, when you'll be able to touch and feel a product through your screen. So that's a little further out. And of course, you want the second opinion, right? Even if they're biased for some things, you like somebody to help you out from time to time. So
one of our audience attendees here, Madison, she's asking, where do you think e-commerce will be in 5 years' time? So that kind of, extends this conversation further, what you're saying about technology not being ready for us yet. And when I did convey that, relay that question over to Teresa earlier, she laughed about it, and she said that, God, the industry is changing so fast. Where do you want to be in a year, let alone 5 years, right? Any thoughts on that? Where are we going to be in 5 years from now?
Yeah, I'm with Teresa. Like whenever I hear that, I immediately go, e-com's like 18 months. You're lucky to be thinking 18 months out because the technology turns so fast. And I think we're going to continue to see that, especially now that we are all just, everyone's trying to be innovative and get ahead as more and more immediacy is necessary in e-com as there's been more adoption. So I think everybody is just trying to innovate and get on top of things as quickly as they can. I think, Sergey, you've got some stuff on deck for us to talk about of technology that's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I'm usually thinking 18 months out and then 18 months and then 18 months. 5 years. I don't know. Everything will be different in 5 years. That would be my prediction. A lot of the ways that we do things will be completely different. The norm will be.
When I started in the agency business in e-commerce, the average life cycle of an e-commerce platform was about 5 to 6 years. Like this was like 2010, and now it's like less than 18 months. So you cycle through all these technologies, and these are really the tools for us to apply to what we're trying to do. And so this is all about what we're trying to do here.
So I think if I were to, it's not so much where we're going to be, but where I hope we are at. If I look at my organization, where do I hope that we're at? I certainly hope, and keeping in mind that we're a discount retailer, so margins are slim, and price points are not. I think our average out of stores in the $14 to $15 average range, not including grocery, right? When you're looking at soft and hard lines. So I hope that in 5 years we will have figured out distribution of shipping distribution in Canada so that we can afford it, and that it's not only affordable but environmentally friendly would be another goal. And I'd hope that we can internally be far enough ahead that we can compete, right? That we can figure out as we go, or maybe because we're small enough that we can do that, turn a little bit faster. I would hope that we're not going to be sitting in a monopoly position 5 years from now, or close to. And I would hope that we're able to turn those stores into what's needed very quickly, right? Using our brick and mortar and continuing on down that path. And profitable e-commerce orders would be phenomenal. That's my hope.
Yeah, the holy grail. Are you not afraid of what Amazon is going to do to you in 5 years?
I think everyone is afraid or concerned. Sometimes, if you put it in perspective, though, with size can come other problems. Labor being one, potentially. Either lack thereof or problems internally, right? How do you, and moving, an operation that, I'm not fooling myself here, but I think, cautiously optimistic that we can find a niche through, personalized, being with our customer locally and being a face, not just a delivery system.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to pivot right into that. So I found one of the Teresa's posts on the LinkedIn from a couple of years ago, and she says there that she has 2 golden rules of guest experience to live by. And the first one is meet your guests, trying to see the world through their eyes so that you get the insight to create meaningful improvements. And second, ask your guests when have you had a challenge with our product or service? And so this simple question can unlock any gap that might exist between our company and the marketplace, she says. So this is really about building a trust and care, right? And it's about building that relationship. So hopefully that's going to matter more than a simple convenience, or will it not? How can we scale this care and trust for this to still be a differentiator to what we do in a few years from now? Teresa?
I'd say definitely that we need to provide convenience at the same time. So I think, and we've been a convenience retailer. When you have a 20,000 square foot store, that's part of it, right? It's easy to get in and out. So I think convenience is going to be something that we'll have to deliver on as well. And, we've got some ideas on how we're going to do that. But again, we're not there yet. But speed, convenience, and personality is probably what where we're going to land. But then there's a lot of other things within that. The product, obviously, it's not an uncomplicated problem to solve today. And it really is. It's an interesting time for us all, I'm sure.
In services, Teresa, how are you planning to grow and gain that scale and yet still be relevant and personable to your audiences there?
Yeah, it's funny when you dusted off that post, I was like, oh, I did write that. I was, at the time, I was working in retail and I was leading some guest experience in e-commerce at the time. And I remember I was, thinking about, that's the one constant thing that has followed me throughout my career is, this idea of, we live and breathe our business every day, right?
Yep.
But that's not the reality of our customer. Like, the amount of time that they think about our businesses and spend time with us is significantly less than what we do. And so I've always reminded myself, don't make that mistake of thinking you are the customer. You're viewing through the customer's eyes. And so making sure that I check my ego at the door and sort of forget everything that I think I know about my business, and I listen and be curious about what I'm hearing from our customers. And there's a ton of great tools out there that we use, right? We've got NPS scores, we've got live chats, we've got, sometimes we exchange a gift card in order to spend some time with our customers to hear what they think about our products or services. But it's really what you do with that information that matters. And so how are you connecting the voice of your customer to your business? And one of the ways that we do that at O2E is that we map our customer strategy and the pain points from the customer journey to our solutioning and design conversations. We use a test and learn framework to look at the pain point, test out theories, and quickly see if we're getting traction or success before we invest a ton of money and time in solutioning.
So is that fail quick, experiment often, and fail quick, and try to
fail quick, learn fast, and either move on or jump in, right? And that's how we have to keep pace to, when you talk about how quickly things are changing. My long-term strategy, like Christine and Chelsea, is 18 months out. I don't look at 5 years anymore, right? You have to be able to test and learn your theories and your methods and your solutions quickly if you're going to stay relevant and stay keeping pace. And you're mentioning Amazon before. I'm not afraid of Amazon, but I'm certainly watching closely. And what can I learn and what can I see and how is what they're doing influencing how I have to adjust my customers' experience.
Speaking about Amazon, that was actually another one. Chelsea, you posted a while ago, you reposted that quote by Bezos about day one, and I'll read it. What does day one look like and day two look like? That's a question I just got at our most recent all hands meeting, he says. I've been reminding people that it's day one for a couple of decades. I work in an Amazon building named Day One, and when I moved buildings, I took the name with me. I spent time thinking about this topic. Day one is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating, painful decline, followed by death. And that's why it's always day one for me. So Chelsea, I'm going to challenge you. How do you make sure that you always stay in day one with your team?
I mean, just like Teresa, we test and iterate constantly. It's always about moving forward. And I think it's interesting. been a while since I posted that quote, but it's still true in terms of that we always want to be the most efficient and moving forward in terms of our thinking from a marketing perspective and from a technology perspective. And it's something I really try to impress upon my staff, that whether we are in times where, you know, we're so busy that we're having to scale up and have multiple shifts, or when it's a leaner time, we need to be working like every change we make on our website, every marketing message we put out there is make or break, and thinking about how we're moving our company forward. And so some of that is a lot of learning, a lot of, previously it was we did conferences, but a lot of reading, a lot of sitting down and brainstorming. But the big part is test and learn. So it's that same fail fast mindset of it's okay to try stuff. That's how you learn. So we try stuff without investing a ton of money, and learn and move forward, and just continually looking at how we level up. And with that, it's kind of one of the, you know, we might all be watching Amazon, which, yeah, we're all watching Amazon. But even like within our space, one of the things that I often will impress upon my staff and upon myself too is while you want to be aware of what people are doing in your space, I don't ever want to be chasing other people. I'm not looking to duplicate what someone else is doing. I'm looking to find the best way for my company to do the right thing for my customers. How do I make their lives easier? And keeping that mindset centered, as opposed to trying to catch up to somebody else or do what somebody else is doing, is going to help maintain that day one mindset and keep you from having a gap where you're not really hitting what's most important for your business or your customers.
So I agree with you. It's a challenge. It's something that's on top of my mind every day. How do I train my team? How do I stay on top of things and not just follow, but also lead and innovate? How do I build, innovate? How do I grow, but do it in a way that's in sync with how the industry is moving? And this industry is moving really fast. So how do you guys feel about training your teams? Like, what are the best sources of information right now? What are the events maybe, or sources of information that are useful for you and have been useful for your teams as we shift into this all things Zoom and virtual environment?
I'll be honest about this one. In the last year, I think there's quite a few of us who have been not learning as much. It used to be a little bit easier to hit conferences, talk to others, and that to me was always the most valuable, about talking to other retailers, hearing what they had to say. We've lost a little bit of contact that way. We've been a lot heads down. That doesn't mean to say we weren't reading and doing some of that, but I have no great advice today on that, because we've just been trying to put one foot in front of the other, and it's just starting to clear up a little bit today. Now we're starting to feel like we know where we're headed, right?
Chelsea, Teresa, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the best personal development training and experience is just going through it. And so, I've gained a lot of experience in my career through success and failures, right? Trying things and not being successful, having to react in the moment. And it's not always in a textbook. I think this last year was a perfect example of that. And I talked to my team a lot about what we just went through, that experience that you gained. Like, that was not a typical business problem. It's not often that we're all, like every industry across the board, having to adjust and react and recover our business. And not every business did, by the way, right? We saw many of our franchise partners who struggled or weren't able to quite make it. We had others who thrived. We had business partnerships that had to be adjusted. And so there's a lot to be learned and gained just through the experience itself. But for me, it's all about context and conversation. So how am I framing that with my team? How are we talking through it? How are we supporting each other? And I've gotten scrappy, whether it's I have lunch over Zoom with my team to find a way to connect with them. And we talk through some of the challenges, whether that's about challenges with their team or challenges that they're having with partners or whatever it might be. But it's the number one thing is creating some space for conversation, because we're all working from home now. There's no cooler chat happening. I'm not walking past my team's areas and stopping in and having that informal conversation or connecting between conference rooms. And so making sure that you have an intention behind those times and creating the space for those times. And like Christine, I won't say I've been perfect at it. It's been challenging over the last year and a half, or a year anyways. But yeah, just trying to remind myself and hold some space and room for my team to have conversations with each other and with myself.
Chelsea, how about you?
I mean, I agree with both of them. I mean, I would second all of that. I think the only thing that I would add is I think that trying to read, for me, some of the industry more thought leadership articles or exploring why things are doing things, like Recode, for example, is a good place for me to have a starting point for conversations as we look at what others are saying is going on in the industry, and then taking a step back with that to talk about it. Because we don't have, I mean, there are some online conferences, and some of that's starting to happen a bit more, but a time for us to be able to sit down and talk with colleagues to at least be able to find some good online reporting that's had more of a thought leadership conversation in the article itself, and using that as a jumping off point to have conversations with staff or with colleagues about where we think things are going. It's a start.
Yeah, it's a start. Definitely it's a start. And that's the way we're thinking about these webinars as well, going forward, to make it a communal effort and for us to share what the learnings are and what the different perspectives are. The image that's always in my head when we talk about the challenge, the adversity, the danger out there, the settlers in America, as the caravans moved to the west, they always stayed and camped for the night in a circle. And all the families and all the flock and everything, it was inside the caravan, inside the circle. And then all around there were patrols to make sure that the people inside are safe. So we kind of, when we face those challenges, a lot of times we begin to fight internally, and we begin to have differences of opinions and different approaches, right? But then we should actually look inward and look more at who we really are. So talking about those dangers on the outside of that camp, if you want to use my parallel there, what's keeping you up at night? What are some of the risks out there that we still have not learned how to deal with in terms of online commerce?
Oh man, for me, it's like, can we move fast enough? Can we innovate at a pace that keeps up with our competition, with the demands that we're seeing from our customer? Do I have the right framework to enable the business to achieve its goals, scalable solutions? And I'm constantly asking myself, how do I balance predictability, flexibility, and focus without compromising the quality of our service and our customer experience? Like, that's on repeat in my head constantly.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I certainly think about scalability, and I think about it in terms of wanting things to be consistent. So, as I think about, okay, well, I could scale this. How does that impact my other channels? And if I'm communicating a certain way or able to do something really interesting, can I carry that through so that it's a consistent experience for our customers? And I think to that end, kind of going back to us, watching Amazon, some customer expectations shifted as a result of how their relationship with Amazon has changed in the last year. Things used to show up in my house in an hour, and now it can take 5 days, regardless of whether you're Prime or not. And so it opened a door for more niche purchases to go and buy directly from another store. And how do we continue to find those spaces as everyone has kind of leveled up? How do we continue to fulfill a need and fulfill it in a way that they're getting something special from us as technology changes, as customer needs change?
Let us maybe use a chance and deep dive a little bit more into not all things digital, but what you guys started from, and that was all the other elements of your business that are not related to e-com platform and the website and everything that supports that. So I'm talking about omni-channel. I'm talking about this holistic customer experience. What is beyond the bogus boris, buy online, pick up in store, buy online, return in store? What is beyond like online to offline and cross-channel behavior tracking and engagement and so forth? What is that to you? Christine, you're running the omni-channel operation at such a grandiose scale that I think you're best positioned to answer that.
I think somebody told me, well, I know somebody told me, and I won't say who it was, but they told me what I wanted to do several years ago was really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and it is really, really hard. And so luckily, I don't think too long and hard about the actual work effort involved. I just kind of try to get people to do it. But it is really, really hard, and there's a lot of moving parts. For us, battling, not battling, but just trying to make sure that we've got really slick processes that are really easy for everyone as we move down the line, and not forgetting about the store, and they have to really deliver to the customer. But going beyond that, I mean, we were just doing what is required today in today's world, and how do we get to what the next level is really where my head is going today, and what is that next level? And
so let's talk specifics. So what are some of the initiatives this year that you're going to undertake to make sure you get to that level, that you're not becoming stale? We get some comments here from the audience that say, okay, this is just a general discussion about e-commerce that should not become stale, and everybody's been there, done that. But what is it specifically that you guys are doing this year that is going to make a difference at them?
Yeah, so we're still, like to say, we're a little bit behind in getting grocery going. What are we doing differently? I'd love to give you something right now, but I can't. There's a couple of things that are ideas, but I can't really share them. Yeah, but it's really about, I don't know that anyone has totally solved that friction, gotten to frictionless for the customer. There's always some level. Now, Amazon is probably one of the best, but frictionless, and I see elements that I like in all kinds of, if we're speaking about the online part of that, but then there always seems to be friction somewhere down the operational path. When something breaks, right, technology didn't know it was going to happen. It hadn't been solved for by the human that invented the technology or programmed the technology. So that is a key one. How do you train people to be able to circumvent the things that we didn't think would happen?
Teresa, what's on your agenda this year?
Yeah, so this was already in motion pre-pandemic, and then we just held the line and stayed focused on it. But we are about to launch a very exciting program that will unlock potential for our customer strategy, and it's focused on our field service management tool, which is the tool that we use to book appointments and make sure that we can optimize our time. When I was talking earlier about like the importance of our ability to show up same day or within a small window. Our CRM, we'll be launching some new functionality with our CRM, a new data model, and there's tons of benefit that will be gained from our sales team, our marketing team, our service teams, and then from a business intelligence perspective, just our ability to have this single view of the customer, being able to understand for the first time cross cross services across our home services brands. So we're really thinking about how the technology and tools that we have today and investing in that can set us up for the future. A more longer term, and remember longer term in my world is 18 months, initiative we're looking at is just how do we develop that digital self-serve capability. You know, for us, it's truck tracking and online rescheduling, chatting virtually with our guests, you know, the way in which we interact with our service tickets and give that transparency to our customer. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about because it's sort of transformational for our business and where I see us actually pacing with where technology is going, whereas some of the, you know, the work that we're going to be delivering here in April is very much foundational. So it's like setting the stage so we can do the really cool stuff, but we couldn't get there until we had the technology that we can enable. So that's sort of where my head's at right now.
And Chelsea, I'm sure you're thinking about how to expand and grow in this really, really volatile environment right now. And remember, in the beginning, you mentioned about the restrictions and the constraints that you guys have. How do you break out of that? And should you? And are you going to be in that niche space, or are you going to find the new segments and the new markets, new areas for you guys to grow?
Well, I mean, we're never going to ignore restrictions because that's a federal law. So, you know, we're always going to be legally compliant. And I mean, we have more than, you know, 200,000 different types of products on our site. So we have other spaces too outside of our core business that we certainly service. For me, a lot of that is making sure we're messaging the right type of product to the right person at the right time, right? And we've done a good job of that in certain channels, and that's kind of where my mind's at in terms of what do we need to level up on, is really having that consistency and that BI component layer to really get a single view of the customer, whereas we kind of have a few different profiles happening depending on channel, and trying to really unify that to be consistent and help us better serve customers. One of the projects that we actually just launched was a referral program, which has a really high adoption rate already, which is great because that's letting me know exactly, you know, what's important to our customers, where are we doing a good job, because you're not going to send somebody to us if we aren't doing a good job, and how we marry that with other components, marrying that with a loyalty program and other messaging to better understand people and that customer journey that's happening on our site.
Interesting. I do hear a lot from my peers in the industry and the clients that while the top of the funnel is already very much crowded and the shopping cart is pretty much a commodity across the technologies that you deploy, then the loyalty piece of it and the referral piece of it and the repeat education and helping your customer, helping her grow is the next big thing in e-commerce, right?
Well, it costs a lot less to keep a customer than to get a new one.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the loyalty programs, Christine? Anything on that front? Because you guys are running a pretty well thought of program on that front.
Yeah, well, the challenge with loyalty is that it's not completely integrated with our online business. So created first for stores, and I think it was launched. Fully launched, I think back in September. It was a long project for many. Well done for sure. We're working towards integrating that 100%. And again, these are, you know, total retail. 3 years from now, hopefully this type of thing. Hope is that, you know, as you're launching something, you're able to integrate it right off the bat, any of these types of initiatives. But yeah, that it's paramount for us, that loyalty program, and then starting to really understand what is the shop of that customer that's shopping online and in store, and growing that business and doing the right offers and personalizing them and getting to that center of excellence there.
Good. So you guys shared a lot of perspectives on the call. I want to turn it to the audience. We do have some questions from the audience here coming in, and some of them, they came with the registration. Some are coming online. So I'm going to take a few of these and throw at you in the remaining time. What platforms are easiest to learn in e-commerce? We had another smile about that one, right? It was asked by Carol. So Teresa, you've done all of them in the past. Which one is easiest to learn?
Geez, I don't know if I've done them all. I've definitely worked with a few different tools, depending what company I was with. But for me, there's a ton of great tools out there, and some of the pressure that's come with customers demanding more flexibility and online and where they want to interact with us. We've gotten more intuitive UX UI, more flexibility with platforms that are out there. And even personalization depending on what industry you're in, right? So it's really kind of specific to your company needs, and you can find great tools out there. But the real value comes with how you're leveraging that tool and how you're mapping it to functionality, capabilities, and business value. What is the objective, and how are you mapping that to the business value so that you're turning on the right things, that you're prioritizing the right things.
I think this question will get the Oscar of the day from Richard. How do I tell if a gut feeling is correct in e-commerce?
Math.
Math. No, Chelsea.
Yeah. So I have this. There's a bit of a running joke that sometimes some of the people on my staff will come to me and be like, I have this really cool idea. And my gut will be like, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds so cool. Great. Does it make me money? Is always my immediate response. Because that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for something that's cool and has that gut, like, yeah, this is a good idea. And then thinking through how is it going to make me money? And then small investment, try it and look at your numbers. Set a goal for what determines if this is successful. What's that metric? Test it. Does it hit that number? Yes. Cool. Scale up. No. Back to the drawing board. Try something new. So my answer is always math, numbers. Got
it. Excellent. E-commerce channel management. How are you approaching your own e-commerce site, and how do you sell on Amazon and other marketplaces, and do you? It's a very interesting question for this audience, because all three businesses are so much in direct competition with Amazon and different.
Well, we don't. I mean, because of our restrictions, we really don't sell on other sites, because we need to control that. So,
from the technology point of view, what are the most important tools that e-commerce should have for supporting the new business models? How does artificial intelligence play in this game? Anybody?
I love AI.
Well, BI, right? Reporting. Artificial intelligence is really exciting to me. I think, yeah, it at all levels, right? So from the order routing, order routing is one. Having product where you need it, and web store. Wow, yeah, there's just so much that we can do there. I think that's a big one. I think there's a lot that can be done there.
I think, machine learning in terms of looking at, like propensity to buy and stuff is really valuable and useful. That's something that we currently use. I also think natural process on languaging. So natural language processing. There we go.
There we go.
Hey, we're good. But looking at actually seeing search improvements as a result of using machine learning can really change as we look at more and more voice search, and that mobile adoption can make a big difference.
Well, I did have that in the list of my Blitz questions, all things about voice commerce, about social commerce, and various other aspects of personalization. but unfortunately we ran out of time. I do have lots of really good, insightful questions here. What CRM and the customer care sales tools do you use to get a 360 view of the customer? We have some platform-specific questions that people are using. What I'm going to promise to the audience is that we will follow up with each one of you individually, and we will definitely send the questions to the panelists and have the shared view and respond back to you so that nobody feels left out. And in closing, this has been a great discussion. I don't know about you guys. I really cherish the moments where when we get together, even in the virtual environment, to share the perspective. I'd like to thank you, the panelists, for being here with us and sharing your insights and perspectives. I also want to thank the audience for being here with us and carving out the hour from your busy schedules here. It's very I'm very honored for you to be here, and we will definitely follow up with you on the questions. I hope that everybody has enjoyed the session today and found it valuable. I want to once again thank you, eCommerce, for sponsoring this and for spreading the word about this webinar and for being a trusted partner of DEPLABS. Your marketing team is awesome, eCommerce, and we look forward to more events together. So please follow up DEPLABS on LinkedIn, visit our site, and subscribe to our newsletters and future events. Have a great rest of the week, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, panelists, again. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.